Okay, and I think, regardless of where people sit on the aisle, there's a lot of people out there who are worried, obviously, about the future of democracy, but also the future of the economy. As you watch some of these changes, for folks out there who maybe aren't steeped in the literature, don't follow this stuff day to day, what are some things you recommend that folks pay attention to, economically speaking, as we go forward in Trump 2.0?
So, I mean, all of these things are slightly technical. They're not on everybody's day-to-day radar, right? One is like 40-50% of the stock market, which the vast majority of people are not invested in. But if it tanks, it has consequences for everybody else, right? Is invested in AI and invested in buying stuff from other firms that are heavily investing in AI. And if you strip out that capital expenditure, there's not a lot going on. Labor market doesn't look good. And even though you're tightening it by enforcing immigration, etc., all of which is negative on the sort of, let's say, human rights and democracy ledger, it's not that great. And if this thing goes bang, then there's going to be repercussions. Second thing is sort of the wider financial system. So a couple of things to think about. When Trump did his tariffs on April 2nd, what he did was there was a big sort of like, in the treasury market, and it's since sort of mean reverted and came back. But what he kind of did was to say to people, usually you think of treasuries as the savings bond for the world. So it doesn't matter what the news flow is. The treasury is the treasury. It works its own dynamics. And he kind of came out and said, that's not true anymore. We're willing to basically do policies that will directly affect the value of treasuries in the future. And we've got Stephen Murren, who's written that Mar-a-Lago thing about how we're going to have this big debt exchange and you're all going to give us more money for basically nothing. And there's a lot of uncertainties being generated, right? Next thing that comes along there is the crypto thing. So you got the crypto thing. What's the crypto thing? Stable coins. So I don't know if I need a stable coin, and I study this stuff, but apparently we do. What it does is create a kind of captive market for treasuries up to about 4 to 5 trillion over the next few years. That relieves the pressure on government bonds because you get a buyer that has to buy it, right? If they want to play the stable coin game. But ultimately what that's doing is just, again, issuing more debt and also issuing more debt to a bunch of very volatile, fragile things, right? So that's not so great. Under the radar last week, an executive order giving fund managers access to private equity alternative investments on the grounds that the double speak here is brilliant. We're democratizing finance by giving you, the peasant, access to the stuff that rich people buy and trade. Now, why would you do that? Answer, because the whole of that private equity sector hasn't really made any money in the past 10 years. They're all massively overinvested in a bunch of firms they're never going to bring to market and sell. They've been swapping bits of paper with each other called private credit to keep the whole thing going. And what you're actually watching is a bailout before the crisis, right? Give us the money in the 401ks to make us trade our way out of this. Otherwise, we're smushed, right? So you put all that together and you got a financial crisis. Let's say something happens. Usually what happens to resolve a financial crisis is that the cost of government debt goes negative in a crisis. Here's how this happens. Here's equity, here's public debt, private equity, right? Not, well, equities, right? So I've got lots of stocks and shares. Oh my God, the market's falling. Right? So what I want instead, I want these things. So prices and yields, their interest payments, are moving opposite directions on bonds. So the more that people want them, the more the price goes up, the more the interest rate goes down. In a crisis, so many equities hit the market at once, the cost of this stuff goes negative. The private sector is paying the government to give them a bond as a safety asset. But what if they no longer believe it's safe? We've never been there before, and that's the one that worries me.